I think looking back over my childhood from the standpoint of some of the ideas that I'm standing and experimenting with at the moment, I think all of the avenues that I went for when I was very, very young, I was just always obsessed with insects, always turning over rocks to find worms and wood lice and watch how they move. And I was always almost like looking at life under a microscope. But the adults around me, all they saw was a child just crouching down in the green and by hedges the whole time, you know what I mean? And from what I know now about, and more and more people are coming to know about the effect that this working poor environment has on your adrenal system, is pretty devastating. You know, cortisol is good. You know, you have cortisol in the early part of your day to motivate you to keep going and stuff like that. But to constantly have a constant injection of that chemical in your body, I mean, you can just Google what that does to your actual cells, the quality of your cells. And what I mean by working poor, as far as the anatomy is concerned, it doesn't matter how many calories you consume. What matters to your actual body's health is the quality of your blood, which means the nutrition. So at the moment we have very high caloric diets, but with very poor nutrition. And you find yourself not doing what you want to do in your life, like 8 or 9 hours a day. You're working for somebody else's life and their future and their dreams. And what you get in return for that is a very poor diet. So as far as your body is concerned, you're on the same level as somebody that's eating food out of a dustbin. And most processed food, as far as I'm concerned, is no different than food that comes out of a dustbin. And if it was good and dynamic, it wouldn't need all those preservatives and then to add color to it. You know, you add color to something that's decaying. You preserve something that's decaying. So in actual fact, you're eating packaged trash for your money, and the rest of your money is going on your bills. So that's what I mean by working poor. You can imagine the adrenal glands, they're the things that give you vitality, and understanding the presence of those healthy glands and their potential gives a person a sense of confidence, because it's like they've got a full tank of petrol. When them glands are spent, then you can look at the behavior of people that are shot. I call them shot. And I come from shot people, working poor people, who use stimulants to wake up. You can see the symptoms in the behavior, in the cultural behavior, where they're trying to wake something up. So alcohol, sugars, high starches, you know, friction, drama, gossip, anything to stimulate something. And you can imagine these shot people then have a child that's not shot. And the child is full of the potential of these glands that are operational and not poisoned yet. So they want to move. With the shot person, their lifestyle is based upon conserving. Their lifestyle is based upon lounging, upon chilling. And they have a child that wants to taste everything, and it sees you walking around. It can't wait to, you know, it's crawling around on the floor, and then all of a sudden, without you even teaching it, it's finding a wall and then trying to stand up. And then you don't teach it, and it goes, as it develops, it takes its hands away and experiments with balance, all on its own. And then it starts walking around, then it wants to pick up things, and it wants to live life. It wants to know what its environment's about, how wonderful is it, especially for its nervous system, to get a feel of the environment in order to find some sort of scope of how far they can move, where the edges are. And that child is born to a shot parent, shot family. And I always joke about the fact that my name became synonymous with bad things, because when I was younger, it was always Johnny, 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 put that down, sit down, be quiet. Shock people, trying to confine an energy bubble or entity. And I remember laughing that, the choreography of people that have these, the author is very tired inside the body, so that's the director and author of the behavior. So if I'm doing something or I'm touching something that I'm not supposed to touch, then there's these gestures. They never really get out of the chair, but there was these gestures like this, because they don't want to get out of the chair. There's too much effort. And if you make them get out of the chair, then came the frustration of, you've caused me to move when I'm trying to recuperate for my paymasters that are not working and riding the horses all day and on the beach and going on holidays. And, you know what I mean? So there's all of that resentment psychologically, physiologically, the people have spent. But I spent my time trying to escape this constriction. It didn't just happen in the house, it happened on the street. Because you've got shop people that pay for a police force that carry out and solidify their structure that allows them to operate, to slow the kids down. So now the police on the street, you ride down the street, you don't want to ride a bicycle like this. You have the energy to do this and do a wheelie, and then maybe do one hand. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden the police car pulls up and it's like, what you're doing is dangerous, you have to stop, constriction. And if you rebel against that, then it goes into the organic world. You get metal put on your hands and you get thrown on the floor. You can see the choreography of shop people constricting their whole environment. You know what I mean? It's like you get a situation where you've got a garden. And in some countries, I know in Holland, if you let the garden grow and do its real energy, like the plants, and they want to have their freedom, you can get a fine if you don't cut them back and put them in place. It's everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Almost OCD. Well, wow, I dealt with it as a kid. I went and because I used to sit still all the time, because to them physiologically, when they let me out, like there was a hedge down the path of my grandmother's house, and in that hedge during the summer, the ants would, when the queens, they leave, they're slightly bigger, and like thousands of them come out, and then the queens get wings and they leave and they'd fly out from this hedge. And I would stand in front of the hedge like this with my eyes shut, and I had this little afro, and these ants would be flying out and hitting my skin like this. And that was me. This was causing me. I was only concentrating on that, and of course, my grandmother looked out the window and see an afro moving, full of ants, screaming her head off, and then she'd come out with boiling water and destroy my whole thing and kill all the ants. You know what I mean? It was just restriction everywhere. But I was with the butterflies, and I used to collect ladybirds. And then when my mum would call me, I have to have dinner. But dinner was bread with a bit of butter and sugar. Sugar sprinkled on the butter, you know what I mean? Again, now I'm going into the culture that's going to waste my adrenal glands. You know what I mean? And then later on, I started to get into boxing, movement, and then after that, but then I think because of my spiritual balance, when you start getting hit and you start fighting, then it becomes stressful. Now I'm into the cortisol. The training is beautiful, the movement, especially when you get your lungs and your breathing together. Now you're just enjoying this wonderful dance. But then I looked at my environment and everybody was like this, you have to fight to be a man, So I went in there, but this part was highly stressful. So then I gravitated into dance. And you're in a studio with other people that are free, and we're jumping all over the place, and that's kind of saved me from the same symptoms of my relatives. Your body will register, your nervous system will register what positions you're in. And even if you're sitting, you can be sitting down like this, your brain is still ticking about goals and what you want to do and what you don't like, you're still creating an acidic adrenal state in your body. You're disgruntled, dissatisfied. So what I do, I try to adopt physical postures and thoughts that say to my body, there is enough food, I've eaten, I'm satisfied. So I sit in postures that say I don't need to hunt, that my body kind of takes in its primal level, that takes in that, oh, he's back in the village, sitting with the children around the fire. And I'd stop 5 times a day, and I adopt these postures and these thoughts of gratitude. And then when I come out of that, I have so much more strength. I can tell from my brain, from what it's suggesting. It's suggesting good things. When I was adrenally shot, because I took on the culture, I said, maybe there's something. Everybody called me Crazy Johnny. But it was shot people that were calling me crazy. And because you love them, and we're communal, and I wanted to belong, I said, yeah, maybe I am. Yeah, maybe I'm weird. Yeah, give me a cigarette too. You know what I mean? So I started smoking, and I drank coffee. You know what I mean? I can't touch the stuff now. It gives me the jitters, you know what I mean? But I did all the stuff. I had the aggressive, competitive nature, because being shot, you're always worried about somebody else getting to the food before you, getting to the woman before you, these primal instincts. But you know the truth inside, that you're tired. You know, even my balance is better now. Because once you're shot, everything is shot. Your balance is shot, your eyesight's shot, your calculations are shot. So to be in the position I am now, where I can control these emotions, where I stop 5 times a day, my adrenal glands are awake. So the feeling inside my body is potential. So I'm very sharp. My balance is great. And I understand this. I'm constantly aware of this part of my body, my kidneys. I'm aware of that. Basically, when I was around dancers, then it was the first time I saw people eating salad. You know what I mean? Not all of them are 100%, you know, a lot of them smoke. But I saw people eating salad and like fruit, not sweets and stuff like that, and drinking walking around with bottles of water. That was a posh thing, you know, people walking around with bottles of water. That was like upper class stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try and do this stuff. So I started messing about with that. And I felt that my performance definitely changed. You know what I mean? And then I met this guy called Bruce Leader, and he's a very short guy, but he used to compete in bodybuilding competitions. And he would always get 2nd and 3rd place, but he was going against guys on steroids, and he never took anything. He just really knew about food. And he was so precise with everything. If he was getting ready to eat, he would take his flip-flops off, get a little elastic band, put it around them, place them in his bag, take out his thing, take the top off, and he was always very precise and very, very laid back. But then I looked at this guy, and he could lift stupid amounts of weight. And I could tell and his energy was always precise, and he was great at Wing Chun. Now he's a Sifu. He teaches martial arts and Tai Chi. And now he's, you know, he couldn't really read or write properly when I knew him, but now he's like a Chinese doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And this is somebody that kept himself composed and didn't bother with the gossip of everybody else. And I just saw no barrier. His life was very methodical, but just moved like this, and he was never bothered by anything. And all of his goals, he just achieves them. I think my spirit knows its rights as a human being. It knows that it didn't get its rights. And I'm a little boy that prayed a lot. Do you know what I mean? I used to pray to a picture of Jesus in my room. I said, I want to be happy. Even when I went to see a doctor once, and I just thought, you know, because all this up and down, you know, spiking of the adrenal glands because of the diet and the way you think. And if people caught me in a low position where I didn't have energy, then I'd fight, because that is how people behaved where I come from. They fought when they had problems. They got physical. So I think my body just kind of gravitated like a bee. You know, it just kind of gravitated to this is where it was. And then I could feel internally, this feels good here, stay here. This has the right ambience. This has the right movement. This is therapeutic. And I'm just like a bee picking up all of these beautiful pieces of pollen. But then when I was a little bit exasperated, I used to have these temper tantrums all the time, which were very, very extreme because I'm very fast and I'm very strong for my size, especially when I'm mad, right? And my friends used to call me David Banner because he said every time you lose your temper, you have to move to another place. And I went to a doctor finally and I said, listen, I keep getting into trouble and I don't know what to do. And she didn't even look away from the computer and she went, do you want drugs? Like that. And I just went, no, I want to be happy. That was my answer. And that was the only time she turned away from the computer and then I just got up and left. For me, the food thing was a process of elimination because it was one particular time I thought I was mad. I thought I was crazy. And I was sent to child guidance when I was at school because I was dangerous to the other kids. And I thought it was all talk therapy, but none of it. I used to leave there and just be even more madder than when I went in. Because they would regurgitate all this stuff about my symptoms, but never gave me any answers. So it's just, I sit down for an hour, you amplify how crazy I am, and then go see you next week. And then leave me to walk out on the street with more consciousness about how fucked up I am, basically. Do you understand what I'm saying? So then I kind of I can't remember, I kind of fell into, with the internet, a lot of stuff comes up about food. I was always into training. So the good thing about the internet, it has the algorithms pick up what you're looking at, and then they put other stuff that they think. So if I'm looking at training and movement, and then food just kept coming up all the time. So then I started studying that, and then there was a lot of doctors, and then I got into Google. And then first of all, it was all about making your muscles look good. So it was all about proteins and cutting carbs and all of this stuff. But then slowly I came across stuff like empowering, like the training food went into another level. Rather than taking stimulants, pre-workouts and all of this, which is like bro science, there was a new science amongst guys that wanted to be distance riders and stuff like that. And they started to talk about adaptogens, which is a new way of getting the best out of yourself, which is to take away the stress so you can work harder. So I understood that food can also cause you stress if it's regarded by the body as a poison. The body will get stressed, it will overwork. Again, you're wearing out your energies. I want that energy, but energy gives you patience with people. When you've got energy, you have patience. When you don't have energy, you're like, get away from me, you know? And all of this food with this energy, just like an adaptogen that lives on the side of a mountain and it even flowers, even in these harsh environments, it has a skill that other plants don't have to live there. So when I eat that, I get the same power. So I eat foods with those powers. And it's just changed my whole mentality. Then I add to that fasting, which is to take your body into a starvation situation where it starts, now you've got cells competing for little bits of energy in your body. And just like in the animal kingdom, when there's lots of food, the weak animals in the herd, you don't see. When the food becomes scarce, the weak predators and the weak prey start showing themselves. They can't compete. So I say that if you fast, dry fast, nil by mouth, and take the body to the point where it has to start competing for energy, the bad cells that have contained all the history that you've done, all the history that you've been through, won't be able to compete with the good cells, and you literally can kill off, because a cell is called a cell for a reason. It holds the chemicals from situations you've been in or stuff that you've eaten. And if you kill those cells, you kill the past also. So I keep fasting to kill those, and the more I'm fasting, I'm feeling better. So it must be the past I'm killing it off.